Hi everyone and welcome to Season 11, Episode 1 of From Hope to Glory at Truro City with me, the United City FM. Welcome along. So, after 10 seasons, we have finally made it to the promised land of the Premier League with little Truro City from Tier 7 in English football right the way to the top tier in English football. It's taken us 10 seasons. This season coming up, season number 11, is going to be really hard. I've made a whole raft of changes over the summer, so let's go and check it all out. So there is an absolute ton to get to, and I will absolutely go through all the transfer dealings in just a minute. But just to let you know, there's several things that have changed. One, the stadium that we are planning to build has been given the go-ahead, but isn't around for the next couple of seasons. That's going to be like a 25,000-seater stadium. Between now and then, our current stadium doesn't match the criteria for the Premier League, so we have had to move out of our stadium. If we go into the club here and we have a look at this next page coming up, when it decides to load, there we go. If we go to facilities, currently we are in a 27,000 capacity stadium in Bristol. We've moved to Ashton Gate in Bristol. We're renting it out for the next couple of seasons, I would guess, until we get into our custom-made new stadium in 2032, I believe. So that's the current plan. So that the capacity is going to be amazing for this coming season. If we could begin to fill this out, then that's over double what we've been able to do before in terms of the capacity of our previous stadium. So that's going to have a huge impact. Obviously, I'm not quite sure how the finances are all going to work out in this first season in the Premier League. We've managed to just about stay afloat in terms of our overall budget. We've spent a bucket load of money compared to what we have done in the past and made a lot of changes. So let's go and check all of those out. So here we are on the transfer history page, and I can hear you all saying, Kev, you said you spent a bucket load of money and did a whole load of changes. That doesn't look too big amount of changes to me. Well, that is probably true. There are some here that we have made, but I did a lot of it at the very end of last season before the changeover to this season. So if we move back a season, you'll see that all of a sudden, £37 million we spent in theory last season, and most of that, other than I think about 5 million, was spent in this season's budget. So that's what we've managed to do. We've spent a lot. Plus, of course, if we move back on a screen, another 5 million in this actual transfer window as well. We made 2 million in the last few weeks. Before that, we made 9 million. So you can see that we've done a bit of business. So going out of the club are quite a few, to be honest. If you remember last season at the beginning of it, we had to sell Ben Moore because the board of directors sold him from underneath us for 8.25 million. Well, you can't see it currently, but just behind my noggin here on this one, you can see Portsmouth there. We bought him back again because he was on the transfer list for 3.6. That's a decent business. We let him go for 8.25, bought him back for 3.6, and in between time, we made it up to the Premier League. So I'm pretty happy with that. So Ben Moore comes back into the club. In terms of outgoings, Archer, one of our central defenders, has gone. Sarula, one of our left backs, has gone. If we move forward a page again, Finlayson and Reddy are both gone out of the club. They're central defenders. You can see that we made a lot of changes in central defence, which we'll look at. And also McCann is, I think, still in the club, but we are looking to potentially move him on as well. That's the other one of our central defenders. So a big load of changes. Daniel Williams, our central midfielder, along with Adeniran, have both left the club, as has Chiwunga, another midfielder, and McJanet, our third choice striker. Even easy for me to say. So we have made an awful lot of changes. So let's go through these. I'll do it as quick as I can, but it is going to take a little while, so strap yourselves in. So the last transfer that we made for last season, at the beginning of last season, was this one here, 4.8 million. Jack Fenn which is the one below what you can see. He came in as our left fullback from Plymouth last season because we sold Ben Amor. The next one down is Ben Amor returning to the club. So let's just go check him out. This is the guy I didn't want to sell. Now, there are a lot of gaps in his technicals, absolutely. But the key ones for the roles that we want him to play are all pretty okay. And his mentals and physicals are pretty decent. So Ben Amor comes back into the club, and it was a decent deal, I would suggest, having already sold him for 8.25. The next one we bought in was one of our new central defenders. And this is going to be one of our sort of backup central defenders. We bought him on loan for the season, 18 years old, Christian Colombini from Inter Milan. So he's here for a season-long loan. Whether we can keep him longer than that, I don't know. How he'll develop, I don't know. But he's got some pretty good attributes already. The physical attributes are pretty decent. Pace and strength and balance are all in there. Great determination for 18 and 16 tackling. Marking is 13. Heading is 14. Position is 14. That's pretty decent for an 18-year-old central defender, I would suggest. So I think if we can play him here and there and develop him over the season, maybe we could keep him for a little bit longer. But whether or not we can or not, I think for that, for this season, particularly for now, he's going to be an okay backup for us in that central defensive area. So the next one down the list is going to be one of my new first choice central defensive pairing. Both of them are new this season. This was the area where we were looking at sort of 13, 14 tackling and heading for both of our central defenders from last season. And I think we've improved the quality just a little bit. Again, I'm aware you can't see all of these attributes, but tackling behind my face there is 17, marking 14, heading 14, good decision-making process. Positioning could be upped a little bit, but, sometimes beggars can't be choosers. Some decent physicals. Ultimately, we bought Ben Nelson in from Swansea, I believe it was, on a pretty good deal, and I think he'll do a decent enough job for us in the Premier League. We spent 3 million, rising to potentially another 3 million on top of that. So that's not too bad. The second of our new central defenders for the season was bought for 7.5 from Middlesbrough, and it's Jamel Baptiste. And this guy is another 26-year-old English guy. Again, if you think that we were working on 13 and 14 tackling, etc. for last season, we've now upped that to 16 tackling. Heading is 14, positioning is 15, good decisions, decent determination, concentration is decent, pace is good as well, which is really encouraging. At 6'2", he's got a bit of height about him. I think all round another upgrade on what we had, absolutely, definitely. So those are my two new central defenders in my new partnership. If we go to the next one down the list, 6.75 million from Reading, we bought Mark Henderson. And Mark Henderson has come in as a striking option. He's going to rotate with Battersby and Abu Bakar in terms of trying to get that top striking role in the club. Now, he's got, again, a couple of misses here and there in his technicals. He's still got a lot of room for improvement. At 19, though, his physicals and his mentals are pretty good, and his finishing at 17 is very good. So I think we've bought ourselves a little bit of a bargain, and at a worst case scenario, we could potentially sell him on in the future and make a profit on him, I would imagine. But he's going to get a bit of game time here and there. He's going to struggle to break past Abu Bakar and Battersby, but I'm sure he'll give it a good go. Mark Henderson in the club as our third choice striker. The other area that we did a lot of business for this current transfer window is central midfield. It was down the spine of the team that I really wanted to work. And out of the 3 central defenders that we play in our system, we have 3 new ones in our starting lineup. So that's 2 central defenders and 3 central midfielders, all new for this season. It's going to take a long time to bed them all in. But the first of our new midfielders comes in on loan from Barcelona, Bakary Diakite. Diakite. We'll figure that one as we go, but I think we'll go with Diakite for now. And he comes in as a central midfield option. He's going to play in a box-to-box midfield role for us. 15 passing, 14 tackling. Stamina is decent. Teamwork, work rate off the ball, decisions, some physicals. They're all really very good, above 15. So that's not too bad at all. For 21 years old, if we could keep this guy long-term, I'd be delighted. Whether we can or not, I have absolutely no idea. But for now, coming in on loan, this guy is going to do bits for us, I hope, in the Premier League. Diakite, comes into the club in that central midfield, box-to-box midfield role. So that's one for you. The next one on our list is a new attacking central midfielder, Warren Morrison, in from Ipswich for £10 million. But 19 years old again, is now our player, and I think we've got a bit of a bargain on our hands. I think this guy can reach for the stars potentially and do absolute bits for us. You can see most of what he's got there. The bit below my face that you can't see is he's also got technique of 15. So technique, passing, long shots, flair, decisions, work rate, vision, mental, physical attributes in there, bravery, they're all above 15. I think this guy's going to be an absolute superstar. 19 years old, there's still room for improvement. Whatever happens, we will absolutely either get the best out of him or get a bucket load of money for him in the future, I would imagine. So we'll see how we go with Warren Morrison, but he comes into the club in that attacking midfield role. So that's a fantastic bit of business for us. So the next one that we do is we go on to the following page and just see how we rounded up our summer transfer window. The first one we'll go to is actually second on the list because Andreas Fink has been in the club for a long time at right fullback, but we've made the position permanent. We bought him in long term because we had some loan issues in terms of the amount of loans that I wanted to bring in or could bring in, and we needed to remove one of them. So I bought Fink instead of loaning him for this season. But he's a good all-round, right-sided defender, and he's going to do a decent job for us this year, I hope. But Fink is now officially our player. So that was a good bit of business to be able to do. We also got a really nice bit of business in our sort of ball-winning midfielder. Jorge Gonzalez has come in on a free transfer, Mexican player, but for a free transfer, I'm pretty happy with this. Technicals, there's a few gaps. What you can't see is that he's got a tackling of 14 in there, a marking of 14, passing of 12. This guy's going to hold and destroy the opposition attacks and try and set us going in the opposite direction. But again, at 20 years old on a free transfer, his mentals are decent, his physicals are very good, and I think we've got an absolute steal on our hands here. And I think that, again, he's a little bit of an upgrade in terms of the physicals and mentals, especially on what we had already. So Gonzalez comes into that starting lineup in the ball-winning midfield role. So that's another of our new players. And the third and final one on this particular page, and the last one that we did for a deal this summer, is this guy, Daniel Dudita. I'm sure that's probably not how you pronounce it, but it's what I'm going with. And he is a left-sided attacking midfielder. We've got Opoku out on that wide left-hand side, who's going to start for us this season. We've still got Sarmiento, but he can cover both sides a little bit. So he's been knocked down the pecking order because his attributes are not as good as this guy is. This guy, I think, is going to absolutely push Opoku out of that starting lineup as the season progresses, I think. He's got everything about him that we need. He's got some decent enough crossing and dribbling. His first touch is good. His passing is good. His techniques are good. Determination is strong. Physicals are all pretty decent. And at the age of 20, we can improve this guy, I think, again. And I think overall, we've done a nice bit of business in bringing him into the club. So Dudita comes in as a left wing option. And at 4.2 million, I think that's pretty good. Those are the changes that we've made. There's quite a lot, especially, as I say, down the spine. So let's go and see how they're all going to fit in. So what with all the changes over the summer in terms of personnel, I thought it prudent that we stay with what we know in terms of a style of play and a setup. So we're sticking with the 4-2-3-1 in the custom vertical tiki-taka that we've been playing for the last few seasons. It's treated us very well recently, so I'm hoping it will continue to do the case here. Of course, if that doesn't happen, if we struggle a lot, then we can always drop this attacking midfielder and put him in as a holding midfielder instead, and pretty much still play the same group of players. So it shouldn't be too disruptive to change it up if we need to. For today's match, unfortunately, this attacking midfield berth has been a little bit decimated. Thompson, our attacking midfielder from last season, is out for 2 to 4 weeks, so he's going to be a little bit of a short-term absentee. Morrison, the new guy, the new young central attacking midfielder that I want to play this season, has just a little bit of a knock. He's not too bad. He could play 45 minutes, but I'm not risking him at this point in the season. We're going to go without him today, and he will come back into the reckoning in the next few games. So other than that, everybody else is fit and had a good pre-season. If we just go in and check on the pre-season, just to show you what we've been up to, it was pretty special. I wouldn't say that we played any really, really tricky sides. There's some good sides in here, but you can see that we scored quite a few goals, conceded 1 or 2 here and there, but won every single one of our pre-season friendlies, which normally means that when the competitive games start, it becomes slightly harder. But the start is actually not too bad. If we wait and if we look to see where our first top sort of 6 team is from the Premier League of the usual top 6, it's Man City at the beginning of October. So we got a couple of months here where potentially we could get off to a reasonable start and pick up some points maybe and help us as we move forward. So the start we got is Palace in the Premier League. Then we got the West Brom game against West Brom in the Carabao Cup. Then Wolves, Southampton, Newcastle, Watford, Sheffield United, Everton, all in the Premier League coming up before we play that first of the really big sides in Man City at the beginning of October. Not too bad a start. Today, we play Palace. If we go and have a look at our league, the league table early on, and we'll just go in and see what the season preview is, as expected. Again, you won't be able to see this because it's right behind my face, but we are absolutely rock bottom. 19th position is Blackburn, who have come up with us, and they are 700 to 1 odds for this particular season, and I think that's to win the Premier League basically, but it demonstrates to you how far behind we are to the 11 to 4 favourites of City and Chelsea. So Blackburn in 19th position, 700 to 1 odds. We are in 20th position, expected to go down as the bottom side at 2,000 to 1. So that's what they think about us this season. I will absolutely be totally and utterly blown away if we can avoid relegation this season. If it's on goal difference in 17th spot, I will happily take that now. Whether we can do that or not, I have literally no clue. I didn't expect us to win the championship last season, and we did. So who knows what we can achieve this season. But if we stay up, I think that would be pretty spectacular. But let's see if we can do it. So we're going to go right the way back into the pre-match tactics. We've seen that we're in the 4-2-3-1. We've seen that we've got a couple of absentees today. But the team for today's first ever Premier League clash for Truro City is Mbayu in goal, Fink at right back, Benamor at left back, Baptiste and Nelson in central defence, Gonzalez, Diakita and White in central midfield, Wright Phillips on the right, Apoku on the left and Abu Bakar up top, with a bench of Colombini, Fenn, Kane, Barry, Ibrahim, Dudita and Battersby. So let's get into today's game and see what happens. So I went with hands in the pockets and suggesting to the players, we've got nothing to lose here. We know how good we are. Let's go and show everybody what we're capable of. We are away from home at Selhurst Park for Palace in the first game of our Premier League lives. So let's see what we can do. I mean, there is absolutely no expectation here. If we go down, finishing rock bottom and really struggling, then that's kind of the expectation, but it will help us build again for the future with the finances that the Premier League will bring for even a season. But we are going to absolutely try our very, very best to see if we can get more than that and stay in this division if at all possible. I think we've done some good business in the summer. We needed to recruit. This squad was not good enough for the Premier League. We went up at least a season early, probably 2 seasons early, if I'm totally honest, with regards to what quality we had in our ranks last season. So I think we've done a decent enough job. There's still some players in and around the squad that need to change. We go 1-0 down after 7 minutes to Crystal Palace. But we're just going to have to take this on the chin at the moment and just wait for this group of players to get used to playing together, work out the kinks, maybe change the style of play, maybe change the formation, who knows. But just for now, they're on a bit of a free wicket to see what they can do. Palace did very well to break us down. Early days, but but we do go 1-0 down after 7 or 8 minutes. So let's see what the character is like of this team to keep fighting, to keep playing our football, to see if we can keep the ball much better than we have done and work some chances for ourselves. Wright Phillips down the right-hand side. He's been with us for a very long time. One of the team leaders now. A little bit of a stutter on the game there. Whether or not that had an impact on what happened next, I don't think so. But whatever happened next, I will happily take it. Please be onside, Abu Bakar. That's all I ask for. The cross comes in from right here, and there's no issue there. And there's no offside at all. Apoku onto Abu Bakar off the shoulder of the last defender. Heads it in very, very nicely. There is no issue with this goal whatsoever. That is a lovely header on from Apoku. And a nicely dinked header over the top of the goalkeeper for 1-1 after 15 minutes. And we have demonstrated early in this game that we can be competitive. That is really good. Bad throw. We're going to have to change that about what Fink does. That is a really poor type of throw. We're going to have to shorten that on quite a lot, I would suggest. I'll get into the set pieces of that and change that. There was a chance from a corner kick from Palace, but they headed over the top of the bar, so we can breathe a sigh of relief on that one. But that's the thing that we're going to have to eliminate as much as we can this season. Those silly little errors of having a throw-in and literally just throwing it into an area where there are none of our players. We cannot afford to do that this season. You can see early on, half hour into the game, should I say, we've been dominated in terms of chances against us for Palace, but we've done okay in terms of possession. We are keeping the ball relatively well, and the more we can do that, the more we can work on our game. And there comes another really great opportunity. Apoku on that left-hand side, involved in the first goal, has now involved himself in the second goal fantastically well. They're checking the goal. What's the decision? Goal disallowed. On what grounds? I'd be interested to see this. The original ball comes in. That's really unlucky, isn't it? White was just offside by like a few inches, it looks like, really. But at least, again, we put them under pressure and we showed that Palace can crack if we deliver the ball in the best way we know how. But half-time, 1-1, having gone 1-0 down, I will happily take. And ultimately, at this point, I'm pretty happy with that. So we're going to go hands together, just very chilled out. And we'll say, I'm happy with the performance. Keep it up. I don't want to put them under too much pressure early on. Until they perform really badly, then we'll kick them up the bum a little bit. But until that point, we've got to keep the positivity, got to keep the morale up, got to see if we can get some momentum behind us, because momentum is key sometimes in Football Manager. So for now, we're going to take the very chilled out approach. Support them well when they've been playing pretty well, whatever the result is. And on today's performance, I will happily take this result if we can hold on to it. But who knows? There might be something more for us. We've had a few more shots at goal. We're still slightly above them in possession. Reaching the 70th minute, there's a highlight. So we're going to play the highlight on before we make the changes that I want to make. And it was a highlight for us, but then a wayward ball from Wright Phillips does give the ball back to Palace. And it's those sorts of things. We're going to probably have to shorten the passing down a little bit and make it much easier for ourselves to try and keep the ball as much as is possible. Palace have had a couple of bites at the cherry, haven't wanted to do well enough on it so far, but then neither have we. We keep giving the ball straight back to them. Can we get one more foot in here? I don't think we're going to. After a couple of attempts, they do get through on goal, and that's very unfortunate, very disappointing from that central defensive group who couldn't quite boot the ball clear. I think there was a chance in there for one of them to do it, didn't quite manage it. But it was all in the build-up, wasn't it? We gave away the ball a couple of times. So did they. Eventually, they settled down. Baptiste, it was there, that couldn't quite clear the ball, unfortunately. And McAtee comes in between the two defenders, nicks the ball, gets through on goal, puts it home for 2-1 after 70 minutes. We are going to make our change now and go in and freshen things up in terms of the personnel. Bring some fresh legs in. Diakita, he's really struggling, recovering from a knock, so we're going to take him out immediately. Barry will come into that central midfield role for us. We've also got a couple of underperforming players. Wright Phillips on the right, so we're going to take him out and put Ibrahim in to see what he can do for the remainder of the game. And then there's probably a defensive area that we need to as well. Let's take Baptiste out of the firing line, put Colombini, the youngster, in on loan from Inter Milan, just to give him some minutes. and also just take Baptiste out the firing line up a little bit, just because there was a point in that that second goal, should I say, where he could potentially have done a better job in clearing it. But that's all we're going to do. We're not going to really change too much of the way that we play. We're not going to go gun-ho at this point. We've had enough chances to know that potentially there is another chance in there for us. But again, we lost the ball. And again, their counter-attack is really solid on this occasion. And Bayo gets a hand on the ball and tips it round the post for a corner kick. But the quickness of the movement from Palace is really, really causing us some problems. We've upped the amount of pace in our back line through the summer, but even so, it's quickness of thought as well, and they're above us on that one. Another corner comes in, another good save from Mbayu, holds on to the ball very nicely as well. Got a couple of minutes left. We look like we're going to come unstuck slightly in this first opening fixture. Palace with a throw-in though. Can we find a way to win the ball and have one last go at them? They've had a little bit of space there, but there's the chance to clear the ball from Fink, and they don't do very good. He doesn't do very good at it. Again, is giving the ball away is the big problem. We have to eliminate it from our game as much as possible. I'm going to work on that between now and next episode as it sort of ricochets around in the box a little bit. That's the thing that I'm going to work on the most, is shortening our passes, I think, and trying to make us harder to get the ball off of. But ultimately, in the first game of the season, they did beat us. They were comfortable in the amount of chances they created. Their XG rating was very good. We had a reasonable amount of possession, had a few shots ourselves, only that one on target. So there are things to work on, but it's not all totally negative. So the first game is done. We suffered our first defeat, unfortunately, but I think, as I said, we did pretty well. I'm okay with how we played mostly. We just need to eliminate some of those errors, and that's something I'll be working on in the next few games between now and the next episode. But let's go and check out what we're going to be doing for the next episode. This particular season might be slightly different than some of the others that we've had. If we move on just to have a look at our schedule for the Premier League, etc. coming up. What I don't want to do this season specifically is play all of the big boys on all of the episodes and get beaten by all of them, because then the next sort of 8 to 10 episodes are just going to be heavy defeat after heavy defeat. So we're going to pick our opposition a little bit more wisely than that, and just see if we can find a few good performances on the episodes that can propel us to absolutely trying to stay in this division. So the automatic assumption would be that we're going to play Man City in the next episode and play one of the big sides. We're not going to do that, especially in this first half of the season. What we're going to do is give ourselves a little bit of time to bed ourselves in, but we're going to come back in the middle of all of these big games against Man City, Arsenal, Leicester and Chelsea. We're going to come and play Burnley. We beat Burnley in a friendly in pre-season. Can we replicate that away from home in the Premier League? That is going to be the challenge for us. So the next couple of games are going to be the likes of Burnley, maybe somebody like Leeds, who we came up with, and potentially finishing off this section, the first half of the season, against Blackburn, one of our other rivals that have come up with us. Those are the sorts of games that we're probably going to put in this first half of the season. In the second half of the season, we will probably then play Man City, Chelsea, and maybe Manchester United or Tottenham or something like that. So that's the plan, but we need to see if we can win the games that are appropriate for us to win. So next up for us on the next episode will be Burnley in the Premier League. Between now and then, we've got that cup game against West Brom. We play Wolves, Southampton, Newcastle, Watford, Sheffield United and Everton and Man City in the Premier League. Can we get some points there and really set us going? You'll have to join me next episode to find out. Thank you for joining me today. It was a bit of a bumper episode just to get this going, but we are in the Premier League. We are in the promised land. Quite what is promising, we'll have to wait and see. But thank you for joining me today. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Join my United City community. The more the merrier. Click that like button on this particular episode. That'll help me get seen by lots more people. Go and check all the links in the description below to all of my social medias, etc. Come and join me over on twitch.tv/the United City FM every weekday from 3 till 5. Until next time here, though, take care of yourselves. I'll see you very soon. Bye for now.